Greetings, good morning if you are here in Los Angeles in the Pacific time. We're going to get started. Let's see, I'm going to, let me invite our president up to start off with his greetings.
TAIKAI, everyone. Welcome. This is our, can you see my shirt? This is our uniform. So I'm all ready to go to Okinawa. Even though I'm not going to be there till Friday, we're still excited and real eager to get going to enjoy the TAIKAI together, see all of our relatives, and visit all the people we need to visit. Things, of course, things have been changing. Japan has been opening up. Unfortunately, in Okinawa, COVID is still not gone away. It's still, we all still need to be very careful. So we do have included, we have these masks that we have included in our packet. So with your t-shirt, you get a mask. You also get a American flag and a button too. So we're really looking forward to a great event there, not only for all Okinawans around the world, but for the OAA too. And the numbers have been growing, so our delegation has been growing too. And we're looking forward to everyone having a good time with the at the parade and all the other events too. So we'll try to get things, have final things together, and look forward to seeing you all again. And we'll be back later. Now back to you, Ko-san. Thank you again all for coming. Thank you.
Yay. Okay, so I'm going to take my mask off. Thank you and welcome to the fourth and final information session for the Uchinanshi TAIKAI. Today, we're doing another hybrid, so we have people here actually at the center as well as speaking to people through Zoom. So we think we fixed all our technical glitches, and we have a lot of information, so we'll get started. Are you excited? Because it's a week away. Most of us are going to be on a plane, within a few days. So it's pretty exciting, and there's still a lot of work to do, and there's still a lot of information that we're giving out. So without further ado, I'm going to ask Joey to share the slides. Okay. Okay, and as you if you're on Zoom in chat, Kristen has indicated how you can submit questions. So what I'm going to do after each one, allow for a Q&A. And then, so if you're here live with us too, you can raise your hand also and ask the question, because we want to make sure that, because this is the last time we're doing this session, so we want to make sure all our questions are answered. So, so before I go into the parade, which I think a lot of folks are waiting for, I wanted to do a real quick plug. So the next slide, I think, is from IACE. They just wanted to let folks know that if you're not in a travel group, but you're interested in just like a day or like a half day or a day tour, they still have spots, something like 4 to 6 spots. And then you can see on the screen what they have on the 31st, which is the Monday, which is actually the day of the opening ceremony, right? They're doing like basically like Bingata, Aomori, and then Kori Island, and then the Umi Aquarium up in the northern area. And then November 4th, which I believe is the day of the closing ceremony, they have a half-day tour And so you can see the pricing there, and then they're doing a group dinner at 𝗍𝗢𝗓. You can probably all hear that. That's there's a traffic, so sorry about that. So if you're interested in that, on the screen is the contact person for IEC. We just wanted to let you know in case you were interested in that. This is not related to OAA's activities, so we'll be talking about that at the very end. But we just wanted to share that, to pass that along in case people, because obviously with this you get a tour guide, actual bus transportation to and from these places. So that's different than what we're organizing, which is a little more kind of like a rougher local experience in getting around. So again, I'll explain that a little later. But so, okay, I wanted to share that. So, okay, next slide. Okay, so I think this is probably the biggest part of the information that I wanted to share, because I did get some clarification just last night. So this is fresh information. On Sunday, October 30th, the parade is taking place on 𝗥𝗢𝗢𝗪 or 𝗥𝗢𝗢 Street. Dori means street, so a lot of times you might hear like 𝗍𝗢𝗢𝗪 or whatever. But so 𝗥𝗢𝗢 Street or 𝗥𝗢𝗢𝗪 is where the parade is taking place. And the check-in is going to be, so check-in begins at 1:30 and goes till 2:30. So we're asking folks if they could get there. If you're going to be marching in the parade with our group, then we ask that you come by 1:30. And as you can see on the screen, they are requiring a health check and masks. So what does that mean? So that's what I called yesterday for clarification. So, I mean, masks required, I think that's pretty self-explanatory. The health check, there's actually a kind of like a questionnaire that asks some simple questions. And I apologize, Joey, I don't know if we have a QR code and we also have a link. And they've asked that folks can do this before they get there. So in the morning that day, it asks questions like, have you had symptoms? If you have a fever, I think one of the questions is like, and it's in Celsius, right? Which I forget, was it 34, something like that? Is your temperature that or below? And basically they're asking you to self monitor that you don't have a fever and that you're feeling well. And basically when you answer those questions and then you hit submit, then you get an email saying that you completed that. And so what they are asking are people going to the check-in site and showing them that you've checked in. So for each person, they're requesting this, and how they will know whether you've gotten your health check done. They're going to be giving, they said a flag. I forgot to ask what kind of flag, but they'll be giving folks a flag, which will indicate that you've done your health screening. So obviously you don't, thank you, Joey. So it looks like this. Now it's possible also to, I think they said that they will have some printouts of this, so you could do it there, but obviously if you do it ahead of time, it's a lot more. Yeah, so you put in your name, the country, so you put USA, and then where you're from. So OAA, if you're going to do the OAA, Okinawa Association of America, you hit next. And then, so your today's body temperature is lower than 37.5 degrees Celsius. Click yes. Do you have any of the symptoms? Cough or sore throat, fatigue or shortness of breath, abnormalities in taste or smell? Answer no if that's the case, and then you hit next. And then basically they say thank you, and then you hit submit, which Joey will not do right now. You hit submit, and then that I believe you get a response saying that an email saying that you have completed it. So then that's what you would show when you check in. Now, if you, for whatever reason, forget, or you arrive late, not checking in does not mean you can't necessarily be in the parade. But obviously, these are the measures that they've put in place that they feel make it possible to have this large mass gathering event. So we're asking our people to be able to do this. Now, if you have questions because you don't have a smartphone or you're traveling with a lot of people, I think you can keep submitting on the same link, not like the TAIKAI registration, you could be submitting with other people, I believe. So you can do this form for other members in your group. But this is what they told us a couple of days ago. And yesterday when I asked, are we doing it right then and there? Are they checking temperatures? And they said, no, this is a self-reporting of your health physical condition. So that and the mask are what they're requiring. So are there any questions on that portion? So we're asking folks to meet at 1:30. We're gonna, representatives from OAA are gonna try and get there earlier because just one of us needs to check in for the group saying we're here. And then they're asking every participant to check in the health check area to prove that you did do your health check. And then, I can't remember, Joey, if I gave you the order. So we found out the order that we're going to be in the parade. So the US is actually opening the parade, and it's going to start with the Hawaii contingency because they are the largest. There we go. They actually have Okinawa, Hawaii Kyokai, Hawaii Daigatsu UH. So those three under area 1, you see those 3 groups. They're going to be marching first. Then Northern California, because I think they have the second largest number, second or third, and then Guam is actually third. So we will be 4th, Okinawa Association of America, and we will have banners and flags. So what they're going to have us do, if you've been in the parade before, you know that usually we would go to a elementary school field and wait for someone to come and say, okay, you're next, and bring the whole group around onto the street. So this time, because I think it's a smaller parade, we're actually going to be lining on the north end of Polk Side Street. So if you've been there, the check-in area is called the Tumbusu Naha, and it's like a cultural center. And there's like a small side street there, and that's where what they call reception or check-in area is going to be. And from that north is where all the groups will line up. So as I said, Hawaii is a pretty big group. I didn't get the final numbers of how many are registered, but I think last week or 2 weeks ago, it was over 300, right? So you can imagine we're going to be behind that group. And then Northern California has about 100 or more than 100. Guam has more than 100. OAA registered has about 100, but for folks who signed up for the parade, we are about, I think it was like 44 have indicated that they'd like to walk in our group. So that's kind of like who we're going to be looking out for. So yeah, and we ask that you wear the uniform that our president Kaicho was wearing and displaying in the American flag. You don't have to wear that particular mask, but if you do, it will look more uniform. And yeah, and at 3 o'clock, they're going to have sort of a kickoff ceremony for the parade, and then about 3:15 it starts, and then we walk all the way down. So since we're not walking the entire length of the Kokusai Street, Kokusai Dori, I'm not sure if it's half of it, but because normally it's about a mile, so this is going to be less than a mile, but it is walking, and it's not necessarily a fast pace because some of the groups actually have entertainment, and I'm pretty sure Hawaii has some entertainment schedule, right? So that means there are certain spots in the parade where everyone kind of pauses because they can actually, there's places where the entertainment happens, and then the parade keeps moving. So also what's new is at the end of the parade, so by the Okinawa prefectural offices, the Kencho, in front of Kencho in the square there, they have said they're going to have a huge flag that they want all parade participants to sign. And then what they're going to do is have that flag with everyone's signature on it on display at the Cellular Stadium. So, so we will, as a group, find where that is. Again, imagine, you know, thousands of people signing this flag. It could take time, but at the meanwhile, we could probably, there's probably time to take like a group picture. And yeah, and the parade is technically, they're saying it will go from 3:15 to maybe about 5:30. So you can imagine there's on that list, just to let you know, right? So from the US, there was also folks from Atlanta, Chicago, Texas, St. Louis, it says Utah, Michigan, Colorado, Indiana, Houston. They may be smaller groups, but they're going to be represented. Argentina, Indonesia, Australia, Canada. There's a lot of groups, and even within Japan, or within Japan, there are Okinawan associations of people who maybe grew up in Okinawa or have ties to Okinawa that have groups out in other parts of mainland Japan. So they're also going to be part of this parade. So once you hit the end, you know, I think it's like you can disperse, and they'll have, if I remember correctly, they usually have some kind of entertainment also happening towards the end. So there's a real big party kind of feel to it. Or you can also then, you know, after you do the signing, you can kind of walk back up and you can actually watch the rest of the parade. So that is the parade. So if, for folks who are picking up their uniform in Okinawa from us, we will have to make that arrangement with you. It might be picking it up right before the parade. So maybe like during the check-in, and possibly then you can maybe duck into a restroom to make the change. Or if we're able to, we'll try to get that to you sooner. But otherwise, if you can come, you know, with your uniform, that would be great. And likely what we'll do too is arrange it so we'll have our banner, and then we'll have some of our flags that represent our committees. And we'd like folks that have the uniform towards the front. So you don't have to have a uniform to be in the parade. But if you do have one, then you're likely going to be towards the front of the group. So I think that's everything. Are there any questions at this time? Nope. Okay. And as far as like, if you have questions on exactly where you're going to be checking in, of course, if you're with a tour group, travel agency, they will likely give more specific information. So like if they're, you know, if you're like, oh no, we're getting there later or we're getting there earlier, that'll be fine as long as you find us, you know, fourth in line. So just look for us. Okay, so it looks like no. Oh, we have a question from the floor.
Is there a website for the check-in list?
For the physical, the health check-in, there. You know, the question is there a website? So there is a link that they provided us. So we can, I think Joey will either put it in this recording. Like if you've been watching the recordings, in the notes for the recording, we try and list all the links we mentioned, but also, and I'll talk about this a little later, we're trying to do a like line group and having all these information like at your fingertips, so you don't have to remember and, you know, write everything down. But we can also put it into an email as well. But yes, there is. So there's a QR code, which basically takes you to that link, the website. So it is a form on the internet that you fill that out. Good question. Any other questions? No? Okay. Okay, so that's the parade. I think that's everything. Okay. All right, so next, this one too, I just got this last night, excuse me. Drink of water. Okay. Oh, 𝗏𝗡𝗅, TEMTENBUS, 𝗏𝗏𝗢𝗡, or with a U, 𝗏𝗏𝗢𝗏, Naha. Yeah. And we actually are going to have, if you have like a smartphone with Google Maps, we're actually going to have these locations a pin or drop a pin so folks can find it as well. Because your Google Maps, obviously, it will work in Okinawa, right? So, okay. All right, so next, the past pickup. So kind of like this, right? This is, they have not made this public, but she shared this with me yesterday, Satoko-san, who's been joining us, Satoko Kaneshi. She shared last time that the pickup starts on Monday the 31st, right? So after the parade, Monday the 31st at the Budokan. Again, we'll have all of these place names in the list and in notes for you. But the Budokan, which is next to the stadium, so it's all in the same area, but that's where they're going to be doing the check-ins, and they're going to start at 2 p.m. That's, as of today, that's the information they gave. Of course, they're also in the middle of in their planning too, so if they feel like they need to make it earlier or later, that might happen. But again, if you're connected to us through the email and through the Line app, you will get that information as soon as we hear about the changes. So this is what I was told. So picking up the pass is not just picking up the pass. It's actually going to be a she said 4 steps. So that is actually when they're going to look at your QR code. So for those that are a little bit newer, because I know there are people who just decided within the last week and a half to go. So remember, you had to have registered for the TAIKAI and then indicate that you want to attend the closing and opening ceremonies. And then in that, there's an area where you can get your QR code. The QR code for the opening and closing, it can be printed out or it could be on a device, right? And so it's not just picking up a pass, meaning, so when you're doing all that, basically be prepared, right? And make sure you have it. So you'll show your QR code. You will get a wristband, right? So that's going to be the indication that you've been checked in. Then you're going to get your pass. And then they're going to give like a goodie bag that'll include a guidebook. And it says here that there'll be a monorail one-day free pass exchange ticket. First come, first serve though. So I guess there's a limited amount on that, but an exchange ticket. So if you are planning on taking the monorail, that might be a good thing to get. And then a souvenir bag. And yeah, and there's usually a lot of fun, goodies in there. So those are the 4 things, right? So the QR code, you get your wristband, you pick up your pass, and then at that point, you can enter into the stadium, I believe. And the stadium entrance is a separate area. So yeah, are there any questions on that? Because again, the Budokan is very close to the stadium. And then I believe that according to their calendar, that there are events happening, and I think there's actually like a entertainment stage also happening earlier in the day, so folks could go super early and kind of hang out and take advantage of that. And then when it's time to pick up your pass, you could pick up your pass, and then you can kind of go back and browse and maybe relax. So that is Monday. Yeah. So if you're not with it, again, if you're with a tour group, obviously your agent, your travel agent has set what time they're going to get you there and take care of it. And I'm not even sure if they're able to do, because I think the QR code then makes it that each person has to do their own. So I think there was a question, is it possible for some travel tour groups to be able to pick up everyone's passes? I don't know what became of that since we're not a travel group. We didn't get the answer to that, but yeah, so this is what we're outlining what you'll need to do on Monday before the opening ceremony. Are there any questions for the pass pickup and the opening ceremony? So no questions. Okay, we can keep going then. And if you think of one, please, you can throw it into the chat or raise your hand. Okay, so for openings, oh yes, yes. Good question. Question is, you know, do we have like assigned seats so that we could sit as a group? Okay, so I was gonna go into that, but so we can't, we're gonna go early. They told us that we can't, you know, ahead of time say this is where we want to sit, but if we go early, excuse me, we go early and kind of scope out an area, then that's possible. So that's what we're thinking we would do, that some of our reps will go super early. So the opening ceremony is also, we're asking if you could wear your shirt. So I don't know, depending on how hot and sweaty you are after the parade, you might have to air it out, or, but it will be helpful because one, we can find you and you can find us as well. But if you're wearing your uniform, what we'll do, because it's hard to say how many folks are going to be that want to sit with us, right? Like if we were to go by based on what the because like we're hard travel and IACE too, it would be nice if we can all sit together. So I'll have to see approximately how many folks that they have, and have our people kind of scope out. And you know, it's kind of like put your jacket on the chair, except there's going to be dozens and dozens of seats. Last time we tried to actually, I think we tried to put like a caution tape around it, and they said, okay, we couldn't do that. But if we basically stationed ourselves in an area, and then whenever we found someone, right, you know, we would call out and get folks there. So what we're thinking is, so if we get there early, we find a spot, we try and save a certain number of seats, and then have folks possibly stationed in different areas. What's hard is that the stadium is quite large. I think you can seat easily, it's over 7,000. I mean, it's not as big as, you know, the US stadiums, but it's pretty big. And I don't think there's going to be that many people as previous, which was like 7,000. But so we won't be able to say exactly what section, what row and all that. However, if we're on that lineup, we may be able to tell you, right? Like we may be able to put in, and again, if you don't know what I'm talking about, I will explain it. We could, if our people get there and like, okay, we got this section and rows, da 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 da, then we might be able to shoot that into this app. So as you arrive, you know, you could see that and know where we're sitting. So we won't know till that day, but that is our intention, is to save seats physically, be there and kind of, oh no, that's ours, and save the seats. So yeah, that and that starts at, it was 6 o'clock. I should know this already. $5 o'clock, sorry. 5 o'clock, 5 p.m., 1700 is when it starts. And they're expecting it to be about 3 hours until about 8 o'clock. So yeah, that's going to be a lot of fun, because you'll actually get to see, I think they will have areas, I think, scoped out, like US is this section. They may have already even scoped out Hawaii's section, because they're usually they're like their own country, right, in terms of the number of participants. But the other areas, it might be, okay, so if you're from Europe, this section, or if you're from South America, this section. So it will be somewhat, I think, arranged, but within that, they won't have, okay, you know, only OAA, these seats, not like that. So Yeah, so if you have, as you can see, that's Argentina and Peru and Brazil off on the side. Like visually, you immediately know what country they're from, right? I mean, they bring flags too. So if you have flags, you're welcome to bring them. Yeah, because they, at least, I hope I'm not giving wrong information. They did allow folks to bring in with poles and wave the flags. So yeah, lots of fun. Didn't see too many US flags though. We just don't carry flags around as much as some other countries. And I know probably a lot has to do with the sporting events too, right? So they have flags readily available. So if there are no other questions on opening, I can move on. No? Okay. Next. Okay, so we thought we would talk a little bit. We've been mentioning it, you know, off and on a bit on this, but transportation, getting around. Now, if you're doing everything through the travel agency, you know, they're going to get you places, and this might not apply to you. But if you are interested in exploring, right, here's just some information. The monorail, or the Yui rail, they call it in Okinawa, is what's on the left. And it connects from the Naha airport to the city of 𝗪𝗢𝗡𝗘. So it's not super long, but it's very convenient for when you're hanging around in Naha. Certainly, like we can, again, if you're taking the monorail to like get to the opening ceremony, we will have that information, like what station to exit, and I don't know if we'll be able to do like where the walking route is, but basically also you'll see a lot of people walking. So you just kind of follow like ants and get to where you need to go. But there is a website, the Yui Rail site, which, and again, we'll have this available for you. It's in English. You can actually, so actually, can we click on the route map real quick so folks can see that? So, you know, so Naha Airport at the bottom, right? So there's only 19 stops, and it goes up to what's called 𝗓𝗏𝗓𝗡. So from Naha Airport, so Onoyama Park is actually very, that's the station you would exit to get to Cellular Stadium, Naha Stadium. So, and then if you're staying like near Kokusai Street, it's all that Asato, Makishi, Miebashi, the prefectural office, Asahibashi, like that area. Those are the areas that you would be exiting. And so you can catch that anywhere near there in Naha and get to the stadium. So, and this is like if you've ridden the subway or, you know, in other cities or, well, in LA too, or in Japan, it goes by what stop, right? So the timetable, the fare table, that's all on this site. So you can actually check it out. And so they actually have also like day passes. So you can actually, if you're one of those kinds of travelers where you kind of really like to map out where you're going to go, you could probably figure out how much you would be paying and decide to get a day pass or a 3-day pass instead, or a 2-day pass. So let's see, the fare table, Joey. So like, for example, Naha Airport, if we visit starting at Naha Airport. And then it tells you, so I'm staying on Kokusai-dori, I would get off on, I think, Makishi. So when I get to the airport and I don't have anybody picking me up, so I have to take the Yui rail, it'll be 300 yen, right? If you're a child, it's 150, and then it's about 16 minutes. So this is kind of helpful that way, right? Yeah, so the commuter pass, that stuff, that's for local folks. But so there's this site on the URL, and it's actually, it's nice because of course a lot of it is elevated, so you get to see a part of Naha that you usually can't see when you're on the street. So I enjoyed it. I remember when I was living there when it first opened in the early 2000s, and a lot of locals were writing it like, ooh, ah, like, because they're seeing their own city from a different point of view, right? So it's fun to just ride on it if you haven't. So that's the monorail. And then for transportation, I think I put taxi next, but if I do, go back to this slide, yeah. So the bus, you can see, they'll have the numbers on the front, right? And although it'll have Japanese writing, the number, you'll be able to catch the number. But the bus as well, we found a site, the Bus Navi site. And they have, oh, this is the Okinawa Pass site. So yeah, there we go. So this was kind of cool, and it's in English. You can choose English language. So you can choose, one of the places that our outing was 𝗍𝗢𝗎𝗓. So if you put, we were thinking, so we would start in Naha, right, at the bus terminal. And then they put, I don't know if you, oh, 𝗍𝗢𝗎𝗓 does come up, okay. Then you can actually, before you click on, oh, so on the bottom in the white box, you can see it says take a monorail or take a taxi. Like, so you can actually do that too, and they'll give you different routes. But this is for the bus, right? So if you search under these conditions and say, yeah, the departure time you can kind of set. Yeah, and then if we search, then they give you this, they'll give you an overview of what the route looks like. Right? So from Naha all the way to where that 𝗍𝗢𝗎𝗓 is, it's obviously a bit of a distance, but there's a different routes that they have. They give you the bus number, right? Like, so if you see it says 120, the Nagamichi Airport line. So it's very helpful if you know where you're starting and where you're going. Now, I think you have to kind of know what the bus stop is called. So that's a little bit trickier, but you could get a pretty good idea and how much the fare is. So you can see taking the bus up to Yomitan is about 1,090 yen. So, so this site will have a link to that for folks who are interested in taking the bus. And the bus, there's two kinds of buses. There's the inner city bus, which means only the bus within Naha. And that has, the number has a circle around it. Like there's a number, and they're usually, I don't think they go higher than like maybe 17 or something, but those you pay up front. And I should have looked it up. I don't know what the minimum amount is. It was 200 yen when I was there, and you can go anywhere within the city of that bus line. It might have gone up. But then the others are similar to like the kind of like the monorail subway system. It's depending on where you're going, how many stops later, that determines. And so, there's a board, and you have to just remember where you got on, and then you just keep looking at that, and then the bus fare will keep going up. And then when you're exiting, you pay that. And so I know that those bus machines for the fare it makes change. I can't recall, I don't think we looked up whether it takes credit cards, but so the bus is also, so that's an option, right? And we'll have this link for people who are interested in that. And then the other site was the Okinawa Pass site. So this was, as we mentioned, if you're gonna, let's say if you're gonna be using the bus and maybe the monorail too, they actually have these passes where it's combined, like, so you can transfer as many times. It excludes a couple of bus lines, but most of them are in there. And then, so there's 4 bus companies which are up there, and then the UE Rail. So, and it'll tell you, yeah, places and method of purchase, I think, tells you where you can get those passes. Okay. So yeah, and it's not for locals. These passes are not for locals. So, and then I guess taxi is the next transportation method. So the thing with taxis, you can hail them like you hail taxis anywhere. The important thing to know is that they have red and green, what's that called? Like a sign in their window. So remember, the driver in Japan is on the right side of the car. And I think it's in that corner where there's either a red or a green sign. So you have to hail a red taxi. That means it's unoccupied. Green means it's occupied. I remember thinking it was the opposite. So I'm like trying to hail a car that's occupied, and of course they're not going to stop for me. So, but once they do, they usually have automatic doors. So don't open the door. They will open it for you. And then you usually get in the back, and you only get in the front if there's 4 passengers that they're driving. You get in the back, you tell them where you want to go, and then taxis do take credit cards. So if and obviously if you're in a hurry, like let's say you're waiting for the bus and you're not sure if it passed and you need to get somewhere, then getting a taxi. And not that many taxi drivers necessarily speak English, but they're super helpful. They're super, like, they will, I love the taxi drivers in Okinawa. I remember I told him once I was late for something, and I think he may have broken a traffic things to get me to where I needed to go. So, and in Japan, they don't tip, right? So, yeah, I wanted to tip. So restaurants and food places, services like that, they don't usually tip. So anyway, so that's the taxis, and walking. Okinawa is, I think, naturally a place where you're going to find yourself walking. So even if you do take like the bus or the monorail somewhere, you will probably still have to walk a bit to get to where you need to go. And people are, it's very much, it's a city of pedestrians, and you're going to see all the Genki, elders, the seniors, they're walking the street, they're taking the buses, they're taking the taxis. So very much a lot of people engaged within the city. So yeah, any questions on transportation? Nope. Okay, so we'll move on. Let me check if I'm missing anything. Okay, so just a quick overview on the money. Even though a lot of places do accept, more and more places accept credit cards, some of the smaller mom and pop type shops that you might see might still be cash based. So just an FYI, as also not to be shocked if they say they don't take your card, right? And then last time, I think people have mentioned, and we've read about 7-Elevens, that they have ATMs that are connected to some American banks. And so that's a good place to withdraw yen that's attached to your bank account. But I didn't realize, so 7-Elevens just came to Okinawa in 2019. So yeah, when I was there, there was no 7-Eleven. So I was shocked. And there are, I think, at least 4 or so along Kokusai Street even. So if you're in that area and you find like, oh, I need cash, if you didn't bring enough converted or anything like that, then that's a good place to get cash. Yes.
My friend just called me a day. He is there in Okinawa currently.
Okay, so the comment was Bank of America, B of A. I was not aware of this, so I don't know where they're at, but I guess if you bank with B of A, it might be worth looking into where there's a B of A in Okinawa, because the person who just mentioned that said they have they know someone that lived in Okinawa and told them, so you could go to that bank and I guess their ATM and to also make withdrawals. So, and then I wanted to mention the postal bank. So that sign there, the two horizontal and then it looks like a T with a double line. That's the sign for the post office or like a postal ATM, postal bank. Those banks, yeah, you need to check the symbols on the back of your debit card or your credit card. But those, I believe too, you could withdraw and it's connected to your bank. So we wanted to mention that. And then, that taxis do accept credit cards. So it used to be they only did cash, right? They don't do checks at all in any form. So it's either cash or credit card. So just, yeah. Any other questions or comments? Nope. Nothing in chat. Okay. All right. Then moving on. So this week, etiquette, one of our team members found a site, and we can go to that we wanted to share. So even though in Japan, masking is not mandated anymore. So this site is right. Japan is finally reopened, but there's a lot you need to know before traveling. And this is a pretty recent article. So when you screen down, we thought it was helpful. It kind of talks a little bit about things that could help if you haven't been to Japan. So we keep going, keep scrolling down. Yeah, so you can read through this, but reading the air, in Japanese, they call it kuki o yomu. So it's kind of like, so as you probably already understand what this means, right? That it's nonverbal communication. And so especially in a group, a social group setting, a lot of it is maybe what's not being said. And so some of the things that you might notice, and that's where we were going to scroll all the way to the bottom, because regarding masking. Yeah, so there's that probably people are going to be sensitive about masking. So even though it's not required, for the most part, people, so if you're not masked, then you might get looks or you might feel like, well, why is everybody looking at me? We wanted to share this just for, I mean, it's everyone's choice, whether you want to be masked or not when you don't have to be. But apparently in Japan, and probably many parts of Asia, right, they're used to having masks. So if you have a cold or you feel like you don't want to catch a cold during cold season, people normally and naturally wear masks during going about their daily life. But especially now during the pandemic, and because in Okinawa, out of most places in Japan too, the corona stats are higher than other parts. We know that there's still folks in Okinawa who are not comfortable still with meeting other family members. So we know that some folks have shared that they're not going this time because their family wasn't 100% comfortable with, because they're still not all getting together and all that. So kind of keeping that in mind too, we thought might be helpful. So we'll have this link also available if you want to read a little bit more about that. So the next slide is about, I think, accessibility. So as technologically advanced as Japan is, some of their buildings and might not be as accessible as here in the States. So in the States, we have a lot of laws in place that really require, right? Like certain areas, restrooms or whatever, have to have a certain amount of space for a wheelchair, or you have to have an elevator and all this kind of stuff. But while most touristy areas will likely have that, right? Because they are thinking about the tourists. In some other areas, particularly if it's not the city, but a little bit more either residential or rural, or not so much rural, but not city, you might find that there are not elevators. And so not to be caught by surprise with that. I believe they're getting better, but I lived in an apartment building that didn't have stairs. So, when you're moving, you're like lugging everything up and down the stairs. So, yes. There are places also that might still only have the Japanese style of bathrooms. What does that mean? So what they call Western style is our commodes, right? Basically our regular toilet seats. But the old style or the Japanese style is basically, for lack of better description, it's like a hole in the ground, right? I mean, it's got a porcelain shape and all that, but you basically squat. And so there are times, I don't know, it's been a while since I've encountered that, but there might be like, I think in the airports, they still have that because in Asia, that's still how the restrooms are. And imagine, so like if you're wearing a kimono or something like that, that makes sense, right? So some of those, like you might actually see in the airport, it'll say like Japanese style, Western style. And so that's what that is. So there might be places where so if you go, go in a restaurant, like a nice hole in the wall, and you're like enjoying the food, and you're like, oh, is there a restroom? And they go, sure, and they point it to you, and you're like, oh my God. Just be on the lookout for that. Not be on the lookout, but be aware of that. And on our OAA TAIKAI info site, there are like FAQs and tips that are on there too. And like one of them, for talking about bathrooms, is not every restroom is gonna have toilet paper. I mean, sorry, no, they will have toilet paper. Paper towels. They will not necessarily have paper towels. Or, a lot of times it might be those hand dryer situations, but if they don't have that, so it's like sometimes you're like, okay, there's no paper towels. So for that, we recommend like holding like a handkerchief maybe. And also like if you're feeling like it's hot and sweating, you can always block too. But anyways, that's getting a little bit away from the accessibility part, but the restrooms, right? So yeah, like they might not have rails, things like that we're used to, including steps, right? Stairs might not have railings and all that. So for safety, so if you're concerned about your mobility, it's just something to be aware of. So if there's no questions for that. Okay. So communication, just wanted to mention this. If you're going to call anywhere in Okinawa, so the Okinawa prefecture, like, so example, like Hawaii, right? All numbers in Hawaii are 808. All numbers in Okinawa are 098 first. And you do dial the 0. So if you're calling like a store, or you're calling like a tourist attraction somewhere, or a restaurant, you're calling ahead, just know you're gonna dial a 0 first, which is different than if you have relatives and you're calling from the States, usually you're dialing the international code, and then the country code, right? It goes like 011, and then Japan is 81, and then you dial 98 because they drop the 0 when you're calling from overseas. So if you've been so if you have the number in your phone book, like you're going to call your relative when you're there, and you have 0118198, dot. When you go to Okinawa, you're not going to dial the 011. You're not going to dial the 81. You're going to start with 0 and go 98. So for those that aren't planning to make calls, then you don't have to remember any of this, but it might be helpful if you find you have to call the hotel, for example, or again, like a relative. The next point, cell phones in Japan. So this is different than here, right? Our cell phones, we have like our local area area codes, right? But in Japan, they actually reserve 090-080-070 for their cell phone. So if you see a number like that, then you know you're calling a cell phone. And then for voice over internet phones, it's 050. So that, again, with the 0, but that might be of interest if you're not sure if you're calling someone's home or calling their cell phone. And then the next thing was the Line app. So the Line app on the smartphone, it is, and you can see that's what it looks like. It's this nice bright green that says Line. We are planning to use this as a means of communicating in Okinawa, meaning if you already have the app and you understand how it works, then you can scan that QR code, I think even right from your screen, or if you're here in person, you can actually do it on the screen too. And it will connect you to our group. So we're putting together a Line group, and that's where we're going to be updating information. If there's difference, if there's some change in information on like what time we're going to meet, or like, and also like we mentioned, like having maps, links to maps, so you kind of know where things are. So it would be really helpful if you join that. It's already set up. We're still putting like events and stuff on there, but the group is set up. If you're not familiar with Line, then you can, when you download this app, what happens is, as long as you have data or Wi-Fi, it's like you can use it as a chat, text. It's like a texting app. So if you have, like when we're texting here in the US, we can only text someone who has a phone here in the US, right? But like I have my cousins in Japan, we use the Line app and we text each other. So Line, and there's other apps out there, like I know in South America, WhatsApp is a real popular app, but we're gonna be using Line. And so you can actually text us questions in this group, for example, and we'll be able to answer. And then the neat thing is you can actually even make phone calls with the Line app. So if you don't have, like you're not planning to use your phone except when there's Wi-Fi, then, and you're not planning to like make phone calls in general because you don't want the charges, right? The international or the roaming charges. You could call someone who's connected to you online and have a regular phone audio call. Of course, if you have an iPhone, you can also do FaceTime, and you can do like FaceTime audio. But the Line app, again, just with anyone that has this app and you're connected as friends, you can actually call them up. And okay, thank you. Someone is mentioning that there might only be 5 free calls per day. There is a limit, but you could use that. So if something were to happen, we might be able to actually even talk to you. But of course, you have to have data or connected to a Wi-Fi, right? But so like at the end of the day, or like instead of writing all this down, when you're back at the hotel where they have Wi-Fi, you could check the Line app and see if there's any new information about the event for the next day, and that sort of thing. So if you need assistance, if you're here and you would like to download it and join our Line group, we'll help you with that. Are there any questions regarding this app? Does that make sense? Yeah, we've never done it this way, right? Of all the TAIKAIs that we've been to, but we thought we would try it this time and see if this works. I know that's hard if you don't have a smartphone, but this works if you have like an iPad, right? A device where you can download the app. So, okay. All right. Oh, and I see, yay, I see some people are starting to join. So great. Yes. So this, actually, if there are any other questions that we haven't, so I'm going to do the excursions, but I'm going to do that at the end because that's not for everybody. But Oh, great. Yes, Siobhan says the line QR code worked. So from home, she clicked on the QR code and she was able to join. So are there possibly any other questions? Is everybody ready? Are you all packed? You shopped for any omiyage? I know that's kind of like why we actually did the info session a little earlier today. We're like, maybe if we give a couple of hours, people can still go out and shop and stuff. So no more questions. Okay, so in that case, if you're not staying for the excursion part, just wanted to let you know that the OAA office is going to close starting Wednesday, the 26th, because then we're starting to go, we're going to be in transit. If you do email, we won't be able to check until we get to Okinawa. Of course, if you're on the line group, it's possible. Well, actually, as long as we have data, we might be able to check those, but it'll be more sporadic, I should say, right, until we get there. So please, if you have any questions or need help, please do it before or by Tuesday, but before Tuesday. Obviously, we're also trying to take care of things since we're going to be gone out of the office for a while. For those that might be listening that aren't going, but just kind of curious, the office will be open again on November 7th. So, so the 26th will be closed. We are asking if folks who are, want to like parade information or any of the group excursions, especially, please check your emails before you leave, because we'll be using that to update folks. So that and the Line app. And yeah, I think that's it. So if you're not part of any of the group excursions, then this is the time where you can, unless you have questions that, you can be if you need to, but we just want to wish everybody safe travels and looking forward to seeing folks. Oh, if you haven't picked up your uniform, you ordered it and you haven't picked it up, please, 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 please contact us, because we would like to prevent having to take things over if we can. Yeah, that would be, helpful for us, and at least you would have it in hand too, so you wouldn't be stressed with, oh no, where am I gonna, meet them? So please let us know. And it's not too late to sign up for the excursions, but yeah, that we would like ahead of time too, because we'd like to know a head count to make arrangements and stuff. So I think that's it. So yeah, if you're not doing the other stuff, then you can sign off now, and then we'll be on for another, I think about maybe 15, 20 minutes more to go into more detail, because I feel like we're going to have a lot more questions on the actual OAA scheduled excursion. So, okay. Oh, okay. Somebody, did I see a question in chat? Oh, well, actually, yeah. Willie, I see your short question. Do you want to, you can unmute or you can put it in chat.
Hey, Yuko.
Oh, shoot, sorry, hold on.
Okay.
I don't have my volume on because.
Let's turn the mic off.
Okay.
Let's turn your mic off. Okay, now up it. Okay, go ahead, let him talk.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Joey, do you want me to do something else?
I could just type it.
Go ahead. You can hear me.
Wait, my mic. Okay, go ahead, Willie.
Tomorrow actually is when we have the Matsuri Daiko practice. Is it possible that I can come by tomorrow to pick up the shirts?
Sunday.
Is Amy, would you be able to help with that? Okay, yes. I'm sorry, Joey and I are not going to be here tomorrow, but Amy, who's, Melissa, her daughter Melissa is part of R&D. So yes, she said yes, she can help with that.
Okay.
Yeah,
So
and then
shall I have my daughter contact Melissa just to give her a heads up on it?
Yeah, so Melissa's actually here, so Amy's going, yes, have her contact Melissa.
Okay.
Yes.
All right, I'll do that.
Yeah, so I don't know if you already did the payment, but you can, if you haven't, then you can include the payment, and I can give you that information.
Yeah.
Okay.
Is it Venmo or is it, what would be a best form of payment?
Either check, yeah, check would be the best form of payment, to be
Okay.
honest, but we can't do credit card.
No, I'll do check.
Melissa won't be able to do credit card though. Yeah,
Give it.
yeah, check would be great.
Okay, I'll do check.
Okay, all right,
Thank you.
thank you. Okay, I'm gonna lower my volume. Okay, okay, and so no other questions? I know. Okay, okay, so we'll now go into the actual excursions, which I realize now I didn't prepare slides for this. But so it's all I'm going to be talking. So the first one, oh, or maybe Joey. Don't we all love Joey? Joey's the best. Okay, so, I forgot about this. Okay, so the group outings, excursions, we scheduled it so that the day after the opening ceremony, right? So Tuesday is when we're going to do the 𝗍𝗢𝗢𝗚𝗢, which is kind of in that almost like not the completely northern part, but like north central part of the island in Yomitan. So we, it's more than an hour by bus. And part of it is the bus route, obviously, you know, because it keeps stopping and it takes a little bit of a circuitous route. I don't know how much it is by taxi. That's something we were gonna see if we could get that information ahead of time. But 1,090 yen is less than $10, and that's one way. And we were told that, you know, having 2 hours there is a good amount of time to get to be able to see all the sites and see some of the shows that they have. And so, and also through our connections, it's normally 1,000 yen for entry fee, but they are, for our group, are reducing it to 500 yen, so it's 50% off, which, you know, it's not a huge thing, but every little thing, right, can count. And so where the Naha bus terminal is very close to like the prefectural office, and all of that, again, on our Line app, we would definitely have a map. And what we're planning to do is to have our people from OAA meet the group there and then get on the bus. So, and, you know, help everybody with the bus and get there. Some people mentioned they might have a car. So if they do, we, and if people are, you know, willing, if they're, because that was mentioned last time that they're willing to maybe take some folks. I'm not sure if that's still the case, but if it is, then, you know, some folks might be able to go a little earlier, or some folks are like, you know, I'd rather take the taxi and get there a little faster. If you go in, obviously 4 people in a car, which is the max, that's, you split the fare 4 ways. So it could be, let's say it's, oops, sorry, let's say it's like 4,000 yen by taxi. It might be worth it if there's 4 people in the car. So, so we'll look at that a little more, but the idea is that we would kind of all meet in the same place and then travel up. And then, and if people are running late, right, it does say it runs every 30 minutes. So we'll be able to, we've scheduled it so that there's enough time to get there, enjoy it. And then I think they close like at, I think 4. Yeah, they close at 4. So we could stay till the end and then come back. But 𝗍𝗢𝗢𝗢 is going to have a lot of experiential things, because you can see on the, like, you can play the sanshin. They'll, I think they have like, yes, and there's a link in the chat, but some of the traditional arts, you may be able to try some of that. Definitely you'll see entertainment. I know there's ASA there, but basically it's kind of, I think we were going to actually have a special tour also to talk about what it was like in the old days, right? Because I don't know exactly what that was made of, but those thatched roofs, like that was how the dwellings were a long time ago. So I think we can see all of that. And I think in a previous photo, we even showed like a water buffalo. So we'll get to see that too. But, does anyone have any questions about 𝗚𝗢𝗢𝗚𝗓 in particular? I know we have I'm sorry. Yes, the entry fee is going to be 500 yen. So it's normally 1,000, but we're getting a discount through our contact. So, yes. At the 𝗚𝗢𝗢𝗚𝗓 itself? Okay, so the question is what time so let's say if you're not going to go travel as a group, but you're elsewhere and you're willing to meet up, that's a good question. I think we were thinking that 12:30-ish might be a good time. I think it all depends on whether there's like unexpected traffic or if the buses are running a little like off schedule. But I think 12:30 was like a safe time. Initially, we were shooting for 1. So 1 to 4, right? That's like 4 hours. So I think if folks can get there by 1, that's plenty of time. So if you are going to be meeting up separately, then hopefully if you do have that Line app, we'll be able to stay in touch, right? Like you might get there way ahead of us. So, we'll go, okay, well, we're about here, we can let you know that we're on the way. So, because we don't want anyone to feel stranded or, like, do they come or do they leave, So, yeah, we want to take care that folks don't get lost. So, yeah, good question. I want to say about 12:30, between 12:30 and 1. Any other questions? So yeah, the link will show. So right now we have, and also if you haven't received, so we sent out an email with the names, I think, of people for each event. So if you didn't see, or your name and what events you signed up for. So if you didn't get that confirmation email, then you may not be signed up, just to let you know. So look for that email. And the reason for that is we know that some people might be confused that when we did the interest, so like we asked if there's an interest and people marked it, that they might have thought that that was signing up for it. But that was just to get like a head count, an idea of how many folks, to see if there was even an interest. So that wasn't the actual sign up, but we've kept those people on the list too. We've been emailing the people who showed an interest to say, hey, you haven't signed up yet. So check your emails or let us know that you want to be on the group outing, but you didn't get that email or you didn't see your name, or if you feel like you have to cancel, to let us know too. We have, as of I think yesterday, about 24 people signed up. And that doesn't include, well, actually that might include some of the OAA people too, the staff organizers. So yeah, hopefully like when we're all gathered, like we can make that determination too. If people decide they want to go by taxi, will help. So this is where it becomes we're not a travel agency, or not having a shuttle bus that takes everybody. It's a little more rough traveling. So any questions on any other questions? No, okay. Then the next one on the same day, so we kind of stacked it on purpose this way. On Tuesday around 6 o'clock. So and again, we're saying around 6 because it's like, okay, if we're all leaving around 4, or if we're leaving a little bit before 4, wanting to give folks a chance to maybe change or get freshened up or rest a little, right? Instead of going. Back in Naha, in an area called Tsuji, there's a restaurant called 𝗍𝗢𝗓𝗓. And this one, we were thinking that if you're familiar with Okinawa, what they call 𝗪𝗡𝗡𝗪𝗓 or ryubo, which is at the end of 𝗥𝗢𝗘𝗧𝗑, that if we meet there, then we can help folks get taxis to the restaurant. And this one, we do need a more accurate head count, and we're asking, if possible, to get the payment ahead of time, because whatever number we give them is a number that we're gonna have to pay. And so we kind of want to guarantee for them how many seats that we're gonna reserve. So the $40 US dollars per person is, so it includes a royal cuisine meal, which is expensive in itself and is not, you can't just walk into any restaurant and get that. But there's also formal entertainment. And then I understand, like, there might even be karaoke. So if people are into karaoke afterwards, like after all that formal entertainment is done, there's more time to kind of have informal socializing. And I do know, if any of you are familiar with Mr. Daiichi Hirata, he actually will be joining us. So he'll be at this social gathering. So if you know him and like his work, then it would be a great time to meet him. This $40 per person does not include this, like, soft drinks and beer and wine. However, Mr. 𝗏𝗏, who is helping us organize this, he is donating 𝗍𝗢𝗢𝗏, so we can all drink all the 𝗍𝗢𝗢𝗏 he brings for free. So you can actually bring in your own drink. So if you have, if you discover, oh, well, I found the habushu, right, which is the snake sake, like, and you want to bring that, you can. So you actually can bring in drinks, but so yes, so you're like, I don't need soft drinks and beer wine, I'll just have the 𝗍𝗢𝗢𝗏. So that's what's going to be offered there. And I think they close, I can't remember. So it doesn't go super, super late. However, when in Okinawa, do as the Okinawans do. Usually there's a nijikai, which means the second location. And so if people are up to it, it might be an opportunity, might be an opportunity to then go to another location and continue the socializing. Because one suggestion was that there are these, so there are food stalls off of 𝗥𝗢𝗘𝗧𝗑, and that's really like nigiyaka, really kind of lively in the evenings. So we're like, well, maybe if people are up to it, we can go there afterwards. And so just this social could continue on, right? But right now we have, so this one's smaller, maybe about 20, 21 or so, not including all of the organizers. But we do have more spaces. So if you're interested, it's not, you can add more folks, or let's say if there's someone else you'd like to invite that wasn't part of the other stuff, there is currently space, but we'll let you know when we need a cutoff because of the head count that we need to give to Okinawa. So are there any questions on this 𝗍𝗢𝗓𝗓𝗏, the social gathering? Yes. The question is, when would we like the payment? So if you're able to pay today, that would be great. We can accept the payment today, or if people want to do credit card over the phone, like if you're on the Zoom, we can do that as well. Yeah, if there are actually some people who are in Okinawa and they're saying, no, we're good for it. So we're going to collect from them when they're in Okinawa, but that would be great. If you can take care of it now, then we don't have to worry about it. So, any other questions? Okay. So then the next one, the two. So this one we moved, we were thinking we would do it earlier, but we actually moved it to, oh, did I get the 31? So November 3rd is Thursday. So this is the first day of the excursion is Tuesday, and then so Thursday. Thursday is the same day as the closing ceremony. So this would happen before then, up in 𝗓𝗓𝗓, which is like it's up the hill, right, where the castle location, 𝗓𝗓𝗓 Castle location is. For this too, we're thinking of meeting around 1 o'clock at the museum. So we'll set up a time to meet by the, I forgot to put it on here, the 𝗟𝗢𝗢𝗡𝗢𝗢, because likely we'll take the monorail to 𝗓𝗓𝗓 Station, exit 𝗓𝗓𝗓 Station, and then jump into a taxi. Because I think one of them is kind of a little bit hidden away and it's kind of hard to show, but you'll see the map. And so we're thinking we would monorail, then taxi, and then from the 𝗙𝗎𝗓 Museum, taking the taxi to the 𝗚𝗢𝗢𝗡𝗢 Distillery, so both of these are free. And at the 𝗚𝗢𝗢𝗡𝗢 Distillery, I don't remember if they said that there's a tasting, but did that cost? That might have a cost. I can't remember.
Tasting is part of the tour,
Tasting is part of the tour.
and you can buy the.
Yes, and you can buy the 𝗚𝗢𝗢𝗡𝗢. Oh, that was it. There are certain 𝗚𝗢𝗢𝗡𝗢 you can buy there that you can't find anywhere else. They only sell it there. So, yeah. So, do a little bit of tasting, feel nice, and then go to the closing ceremony, right? Like end it on a real feel good kind of a feel good thing. And then from obviously, so once you're up in 𝗓𝗓𝗓, and then from the 𝗚𝗢𝗢𝗡𝗢 Distillery, get to the monorail station. And from the monorail, you can go, if you're not going to change or you don't need to rest, you can go straight to the ceremony from there. And the ceremony on that day also starts at 5 p.m. So, and again, for that time, if you want to wear the uniform, you can. Yeah, but I feel like at that time, it gets a little bit more commingly, folks will have met new people, maybe from other groups, other countries. I think the local Okinawan folks, there may be more folks present there too. So what I remember is that, yeah, it starts to, and I think even some of the entertainment, you might even be able to go down on the stage, on the field. So it's a real, yeah, festive way to close out the event. So yeah, and I think if there are no other questions, so this one, as I mentioned, it's free. It's just a transportation, right? And that's where we want to be able to answer questions on that. Oh, yes.
Yeah, wasn't there another health check at the closing also?
I did not get that. That's interesting.
You have to have the QR code.
Oh, I missed that. Where was that information? So the question was, don't you need to do the health check for the opening and closing? Okay, I need to check that. Eek, that's a huge thing I missed if I did. I'm sorry. It would make sense if they're going to do that for the parade, that they would do that for the opening and closing. It would make sense. I guess maybe I was just going strictly by what 𝗟𝗢𝗡𝗢𝗢 sent me about the 4 steps. But did you see that in an email from the prefectural government, or an email through the registration system? Does anyone else recall that? In what, in not today's presentation?
Can you flip back through the slides?
Yeah, Joey, are you able to flip back? Probably the one that had the QR code, is that what it was? Oh, was it, you mean the actual form? No.
There, that was it. I think he was, go back to the slide with the passage story, one down. I think this is where it might be getting confused. That's the one. Maybe just show a QR code. That's just showing the QR code.
That's just the QR code. My understanding is that's just that's my understanding, but like I said, that it would make sense that they would ask that, right? They just I haven't seen anything, because obviously, because the parade stuff about needing to do a health check, we didn't know any of that till like 2 days ago. So is it in? That they're saying the past is not, because they need to, the QR code will digitally leave information on who checked in. That's the difference. It's not just, oh, here I am, I'm a legitimate participant. They want to know, because the QR code is so even if you do a group registration, each person's QR code is different. So when, yes. Well, I'm not sure if they're thinking, you know, yeah, I don't know. Are people going to keep the wristband till Thursday? I don't know if that. Yeah, I would just, the same QR code for the person is for opening and closing. That they've been clear on. Whether if you checked in for opening, does that mean you don't have to do it for closing? Wow, so still we have questions. But I believe that you will need to show the QR code, because I think some people might only be doing one or the other. And then the local, yeah, well, I don't know how they're handling the local folks stuff. But yeah, the health check, I haven't heard. I think the pure volume of the number of people, I think is probably what they can't do with the opening and closing, the way the parade, right? The parade is a lot smaller. So, but I will check on that. Yeah. Thank you for bringing that up. Any other questions on the outings or anything else?
What time should we meet and where again? Is that the same place we meet to
Oh, you mean the same place as the 𝗓𝗡𝗓𝗓? The 𝗓𝗡𝗓𝗓, we're actually asking folks to meet at the bus terminal, which is, it's not too far actually, but what we're asking to meet, we thought 𝗓𝗢𝗓𝗡𝗢𝗓, which is where, for the social gathering, we were thinking people could meet there in front of, the 𝗓𝗢𝗓𝗡𝗢𝗓 is like a department store, or a building with like a department store as well as other stores on different floors. And they have a pretty big, like a mini plaza in front of it. And they usually have taxis all lined up on one side. So that's why we thought it would be a good place to start. And also the monorail station is not too far in case, we need to do the monorail. So in this case, for the social gathering, we would take a taxi. For the 𝗓𝗢𝗓 and the distillery, we would take the monorail first. So we would be there in front of people. And I think if you're like in touch with us and you see us like through the parade and stuff, at that point we'll probably be even more specific, like meet here. If there's still a Mossburger over there, we might go meet in front of Mossburger, right? Like we'll be a little more specific. So we can find each other. Yeah. Yes. I'm sorry, I didn't hear that. Okay. The QR code for the ceremonies or?
Yes.
So yes, when you register for the TAIKAI, do you recall registering and marking opening and closing ceremony?
Yes.
Okay, so then if you go back in there and look to confirm that those are still in your account, so to speak, there will actually, oh, thank you, Joey. Okay, so you click on that. And then, oh, I know it's like the QR code is actually part of, let's see, do the, yeah, confirm change. Is that where you're on right now? There we go, QR code. So where did you click on the confirm change, Joey? Yeah, click on confirm change and then it gives you the grid with all the names, right? So each person, so in this case, this is Joey's family. And then, so if you needed to modify it, but if you need a, we cannot see the screen. Okay, yeah, so in that grid behind what Joey is showing, the QR code, it says view under that column. You click on that and then you will get this. And then you can print it straight from there. So if you're able to just pull it up on your phone, you can, but also you can print it out. So, you know, it might be good to have both. Or if you're with people that don't have a smartphone, then, you know, printing it out is better. Yes, good question, because you do need that. So I feel like they're going to get those kinds of questions there. So hopefully, you know, if you've been coming to the info sessions, then you'll be one step ahead. If you, under the relate, so you notice that there's no QR code view button under the first 3 events that Joey is showing. Those are what they call related events. That was the municipal events. So if you signed up for like your hometown, then that's what that is, and you don't need a QR code for that. And if you signed up for that, you should have received already an email from that municipality, because they have been sending out information on where they're going to have shuttle buses to pick up people to take, because some of the municipalities might just be a dinner, so it might be a little bit later in the afternoon, then they'll say, okay, in front of, you know, the Kencho, which is a prefectural office, we'll have a shuttle meet at 1 o'clock. And then it tells you what time you'll be coming back. If you're not going to take the shuttle, they ask you to let them know. Or there might be a tour, so it might even be earlier in the afternoon, like at 1 o'clock, where they pick you up and then you basically spend all day with them. But you don't need a QR code because that's specifically with that municipality. Yeah, good question. I'm glad you asked that. We really want to make sure people know how to get their QR code. Yeah. So in the chat, Joey did put a link, which is, and this has been going out in our emails too. Click on that and then you'll have to probably sign in, but that will show you what if you're registered and how to get your QR codes. So, okay. Any other questions about the outings? Okay, I think that's it. Just make sure no other questions you see, and nothing in chat. Okay, well, thank you so much. We will release you to continue to shop and figure out what you're going to take. And then, of course, I know some people are still coming afterwards to pick up their shirts, so we'll be here till about 3 o'clock. So if you can pay for and pick up your accessory pack or your shirt, please do so. But yeah, I guess beyond this, we'll see you in Okinawa. Oh, okay, yes.
Recommended taking like small OAA for people who need, what you suggest for it to read or
Ah,
people who need understanding?
right. So the question is that it had been recommended of taking some small omiyage or like almost like giveaway type level for people you might meet. So what type and like when might you give that out? I would say the parade for sure. Certainly you don't have to, but many do have, whether it's candy or a little trinket or even the flags that you get. Sometimes, people will give that away. Yeah, I don't know if folks have other ideas. Please share. But also, if you're a social person and you like to meet new people, I think then to having, like, I'm not quite sure how much to suggest how much to bring, but yeah, I know that's not helpful. Because I think, Hiroshi? American round candy, like hard candy. Yeah. So American hard candy, maybe, yeah. Yeah, so Halloween is on Monday. The parade is on 30th, and so actually some of us have talked about that. Maybe we'll just take a little bit of Halloween theme to give away. So that's an idea. Anything that's like LA or US related, I think is also kind of fun, whether it's like a magnet or stickers. So, or the pins, like we have more pins. So if you want to buy more pins, you can. Keychains, I know that it can start to add up though, right? Keychains. I know it's funny. Excuse me. There was a time when I was working in Japan for a little bit. Whenever they came to the States, they always would buy a box of chocolate bars. And I'm like, how do they not get it to melt? But then they like taking that back too. But I don't know, Vicky or Kristen, you guys have any other suggestions on small omiyage types that you can maybe just give to people you meet? Candy seems to be the easiest.
Right, yeah, candy is the easiest, dried, like fruits or some kind of.
Dried fruits, or like those nuts, like, well,
Yeah, or even like trail mix of the little tiny nuts sometimes.
That can get kind of heavy, but those are good. Like keychains are always nice.
trail mix.
Pins.
No fresh fruit,
Okay.
no meat. that
So
kind
the
of stuff.
question is, what kind of food can you take? It's no fresh food, no meat. Oh yeah, not to take, or meat.
Things like
Beef jerky would likely be confiscated.
Are dried fruits okay?
Yeah,
Dried fruits are okay. And there is, that's also on our FAQ, I think,
Yeah.
on our site, we do have like a list of things.
If you're a crafter as well too, I know people will make like little beaded bracelets, or maybe if you do like friendship bracelets or something like that, those are always nice. And then, because there is no tipping, if someone was really, helpful to you, you might want to say, oh, I made these or something to that effect. Because a lot of people in Hawaii do that as well too. They do like maybe little decorations for cell phones or bracelets that says Hawaii on it or something to that effect, or red, white, and blue bracelets or something like that. So something to think about.
Just for those on Zoom, just a suggestion was, if you're a crafty, right, or you're a crafter, and sometimes something small and original, like your own design that can be given away, like whether it's like a bracelet or a strap. Those are some ideas as well. That's a gift. So, okay. Any other questions? No. Okay. Okay. So then I will end it here. Of course, if you're here, you can keep asking questions, but for the Zoom folks, this is your last chance until we see each other again in Okinawa. So, okay. Okay, well then looks like we're done. So, okay, everybody, travel safely and we will see you there. Okay, bye.